Missouri took up the mantle with an aggressive 65. In pursuit of 301 for victory, the Caribbean side lost wickets at regular intervals under the pressure of Josh Hazelwood's 5 for 35 to be dismissed for 141. Shamar Joseph, who earlier claimed his fourth 5-wicket haul in Test, top scored with a blistering 44 from 22, while Justin Graves added 38. Well, Fazir Mohammed again joins us to recap the action. Welcome to the show, Faz. A win there for Australia, I'd have to say no surprise, eh?
No surprise, but I thought the West Indies were competitive right the way through the first couple of days, and indeed coming into this day 3, they had every opportunity to push Australia hard. I mean, Pat Cummins was just saying minutes ago that he would have been satisfied with a lead of 200. As it turned out, they got a lead of 300, and it was a familiar scene of the West Indies not being able to sustain the effort. And we saw that with the batting, notwithstanding the entertainment provided by Shamar Joseph and Justin Graves. The writing was on the wall within the first 5-10 overs of the West Indies pursuit, if you can call it that, of 301.
Yeah, a batting collapse, of course, by the West Indies, something that is not unfamiliar to us. But the bowling, Fazir, and we have been talking about this from the start of the competition, has really been impressive.
The bowling has been impressive, but not supported by the fielding. And we have to point out that, look, again, this morning when Justin Graves, who was previously, before this match, probably the safest pair of hands in the slips for the West Indies, from the first time we saw him in Test match cricket against Australia in January of 2024, but he missed a simple chance earlier and then put down Travis Head on 22. And again, you can only speculate as to what could happen. Australia might have gone on to win the match anyway because Alex Carey got 65, Bo Webster 63. But to miss an opportunity so early on, and Australia obviously capitalized with that partnership extending to 102. And from that point on, you felt that the West Indies were falling further and further behind. So yes, the bowlers did well. Shamar Joseph, 5 wickets, 9 in the match. But if you can't take your catches in the slips with fast bowlers as your main line of attack, you can't really expect to win.
Yeah, you can't really expect anything when you can't take those catches, especially when the bowlers are literally putting it right in your hands. So Faz, you know, when we previewed this test, a lot of firsts for so many of the players, you know, Roston Chase at the helm, his first time, Brandon King and whatnot making their debut. What did you think about Roston Chase just in his first assignments as test captain and how he utilized the bowlers and all of that?
Too early to say generally, but I suppose the only disappointing element was the hesitation before bringing on Jomel Warrican. Even in the first innings when there was an 89-run partnership, he never came on. And then in the second innings here today, partnership going well, almost 100, and then you bring on Warrican almost with a pair well set. Roston Chase bowled himself before bowling Warrican in the first innings. But look, you know, Mariah, it's harsh on somebody to come in as captain of a struggling team, hadn't played Test cricket for a couple of years. I felt he did as best as anyone could do in the circumstances, but really to captain a team against of such formidable opponents as Australia, who will take advantage of every opportunity however they get it, whether even by umpiring decisions, as we've seen in the course of this match, it was always going to be difficult for Roston Chase and the entire West Indies team.
Yeah, and Faz, now that you talk about that, we've been on air, so I haven't heard the post-match interviews and so on, but we did hear Darren Sammy complain about the umpiring and asking for consistency, but we understand how he felt because there were a couple of really glaring errors made from an umpiring standpoint. And I know the West Indies would not want to clutch too much on that because they were beaten in the match. But how much did these umpiring decisions, you think, play on the team's mind? And how much Sammy will have to say about that aspect of the game?
Well, I think Darren Sammy is probably going to be sanctioned because in his comments yesterday, he said this has been happening with this official since England. So he seems to have identified a pattern. Is it a pattern of prejudice? Is it a pattern of some sort of bias against the West Indies. That's what he's on record as saying. So it'll be interesting if he goes further with those comments following this test match, which has ended very quickly. But it wasn't just a matter of saying, well, Lance, these things happen and so on, because yes, the West Indies were comprehensively beaten, but the dismissals yesterday of Roston Chase and Shea Hope and the manner in which they were given out, which were in contradiction to what we were seeing as the television evidence, were critical. And again, you're right, Lance. I'm not saying by any stretch of the imagination the West Indies would have gone on to win the match. They probably would have lost anyway, given the way West Indies are incapable of being consistent enough in Test match cricket. But dismissals like that, and even on the first day, when a clean catch seemed to have been taken by Shea Hope, but was ruled as not out by the same official Adrian Holstock.
Yeah. Travis Head, wasn't it?
Travis Head.
Right, and he ended up being man of the match with two solid
top
knocks.
scorer. So, I mean, it's only human to ask yourself, I mean, what's going on here?
Yes.
Because as Mitchell Stark said, don't look at us, the players. It went up to the television umpire, and this is what he gave you all. So, I mean, there's every reason for the West Indies to feel aggrieved, but as I say again, not that it would have necessarily changed the final result.
Yeah, I have two questions to ask you, and I'll start by asking about Bo Webster and your thoughts on how he batted today.
Bo Webster to me is a very good cricketer, with bat and with ball. He's that upright type of player. Plays very straight. It doesn't seem as if the bounce and the awkward bounce troubled him too much. He's the sort of player, I think, who's going to take over in that all-rounder spot, because a lot of store has been placed in Cameron Green. And as I said yesterday, Cameron Green is not a number 3. He's quality cricketer, he's talented, all of that. But when you look at Bo Webster, you see someone with attributes with the ball, with the bat, someone who can dominate, someone who can consolidate, as he needed to do late yesterday with Travis Head. He looks a very good cricketer to me.
Yeah, and I ask you that because I'm going somewhere with this, Faz, because I've said on this show many times that a lot of the international teams that the West Indies are up against produce a lot of cricketers who are more equipped to do well internationally than we in the West Indies do. And in this particular case, Bo Webster only made his test debut this year. And I'm going to juxtapose his situation with Brandon King, who debuted in this test match here. Brandon King has, I think, 42 first-class matches. Bo Webster has 104. And although he's not a specialist batsman, he averages with the bat in the high 30s. Brandon King, as is the case with most West Indies batsmen, average in the low 30s in first-class cricket. And I'm saying this appears to me to be another illustration that when Australia puts a 31-year-old out there on a test debut, he is far more equipped to do well than a West Indies player making a test debut.
Absolutely correct, Lance. You basically said everything as far as the continuing dilemma in West Indies cricket. The other dimension is that even if you say, well, someone had excelled with just 5 first-class matches or 10 or whatever, it's the quality of the cricket that is being played. And again, you can jump high, you can jump low, you can sing and dance, you can bring as many dancing girls as you want, you can have as many touristy things as you want. It's not going to change the reality that the quality of our regional cricket, certainly in the 4-day format, notwithstanding the big scores we had, and we talked about it early on in the 4-day competition, the quality of our cricket is not at the level that makes you feel confident that someone coming out of the regional game will easily transition into the test game. It's just a stark reality.
Yeah, and we see that happen over and over, Faz. For the second test, the West Indies would need to rebound here. Your thoughts on what might happen for that second test and possible changes in the team?
Well, unless things are happening outside of cricketing issues that could influence the composition of the team, and you don't know what's happening these days. I think the bowling lineup should remain the same. The batting lineup, do you drop someone after a test debut? I don't think so. I think you need to give someone like a Brandon King an opportunity. John Campbell has just come back in, played a terrible shot today to get out. I don't know why you would feel you want to play a shot like that, but still, do you give him another opportunity? It's one of those difficult things, Lance. It's a batting lineup that struggled in difficult circumstances, as Hazelwood himself said. So do you give them a second opportunity, maybe better batting conditions in Grenada next week? So it's a tough one, because I don't believe that you automatically drop people because they failed. You've got to take all the factors into consideration, and they might be worth another opportunity to see what happens in Grenada.
Yeah, at the top of the show, we were talking about the 300-plus run chase that the West Indies had in beating Australia with that Brian Lara 153, and Ricardo was suggesting it was his favourite ever Brian Lara innings. I was reminding him, Faz, that you were on radio commentary for that
favourite ever innings, Lance.
Favourite ever innings overall for that commentary, and you know, today was an illustration that there is no quality of a Brian Lara to lift the West Indies. I say this because I know the odds were against the West Indies chasing this total, but the point was made, Faz, that the Australia second session batting produced the most runs in a session for the test match so far. So it led me to feel as if batting may be a little bit easier than it would have been yesterday or on the first day. And maybe there is some chance that if the West Indies put their heads down, they could, because there was certainly enough time, they could make the 301.
Well, I think, as you know only too well, Lance, and when it comes to test match cricket, so much of it is about temperament and mentality. Because I got the impression that the West Indies were running out of gas or inspiration in that middle session, and Alex Carey really capitalized, and you just got that feeling, that body language, that as the lead ballooned outwards, 200, 225, 250, 275, it was almost like, you know, the writing is on the wall, and therefore it could have been the flattest track in the world. The West Indies could have finished this evening 128 for 7 or 140 for 5, because again, it's so much about temperament and appreciating circumstances. Test match batting, as those who are very experienced in it will tell you, is that yes, the conditions are important, but it's also about what goes on in your own mind and your ability to cope with situations and circumstances. You know that Hazelwood is coming at you between wicket and wicket, time and time again, waiting for the pitch to play its own trick. So there are many different things tied up in it, and I think even if on the flattest track, I think it would have been a challenge for the West Indies to get anywhere close to 301.
Okay, Faz, always great talking cricket with you. We go to a break now. We'll talk again next week, I'm sure.
Take care.
Yeah, and we'll be back after the